everyone should have the same authority of maybe deciding mining or whatever. So you can go in for that. Then I think shared data, multiple writers, and transparency are some more key factors that you need to see while thinking blockchain as a technology for your product. Because we know that blockchain is a very slow database as well. So having pros, there are always cons attached to it as well.
At the same time, my motivation towards development, towards innovation has always been my conscious, my insight. And I think as entrepreneurs, the best of entrepreneurs are the people who work in the direction of what comes from within their conscious. So don't force yourself to अरे यार अब तो यार blockchain चल रहा है सारा blockchain सोचना है कुछ. So you can still cope up with the product that you have in mind. You can use blockchain as a philosophy that's been already covered by both gentlemen. You can use the philosophy of trust, distributed trust. You can actually have a consultant if in case you want, if that's an ingredient of your product. But I won't force you to get into blockchain product development as a whole and leave what you already love. So let's say we love BCI and we have so many crypto products. But at the end of the day, all our energy is focused towards BCI. It's not that, so it might be a crypto bubble right now, tomorrow will be a real estate bubble. Yesterday was a real estate bubble, before that was an internet bubble, and tomorrow there will be more bubbles to come. So you don't have to worry if you are losing out. I see all young people here. You can still follow your intuition, you can still follow what you love. You can raise money through ICOs, you have all the facilities in the world, you have all the consultants in the world. But don't force yourself to anything that's rising up. And I know in the startup time, in this age, you feel like catching up with the thing which is at the peak. But then at the end of the day, you won't find yourself satisfied with what you're doing, if in case you're not following your intuitions. So you can use crypto at the best.
Thanks, Gaurav. That comes from experience, I'm sure. So let's say assume that someone has decided that they are excited about the space, they want to spend some time evaluating, and since you guys have already done from your mistakes in the initial stages, what would you recommend to a guy who's still sitting in the audience thinking about the space? What should be the first steps that he should take? Should he go out and read a book? Should he watch some YouTube videos? Should he go to Reddit? Or whatever are your individual recommendations, as well as your initial steps that you took and the mistakes that you made, because those are the ones that you are most related to.
So I'll cover it again, as you said, with one of the recent experiences. From the last 3 years, I've been working with a lot of companies to get me exchange up and running, the BRDs, the tech documents, and as crazy as it may sound, it's been real 3 years and we are still not up with the product. So one of my, I was sitting, last week I was sitting with one of my friends, maybe 15 days, Satvik Vishwanathan, he's the CEO of Unicoin. And I said, Satvik, man, it's been a long time and this is a unfinished product. What do you suggest? I'm still looking for a CFO, I'm still looking for a CTO, whatnot. So he said, you know what? I started with 3 guys. We learned from our mistakes. We fell off the cliff. It's waterfall method. Learn from your mistakes. So I do understand and I do recognize that waterfall method might be the best for young entrepreneurs. Don't be shy from failing. You will, of course. I'm not denying the fact, but that's what makes you different from others. So yeah, that's my philosophy.
I think my advice will be to just go and first buy a piece of technology. When I say a piece of technology, go and buy some bitcoins. Because until you didn't bought that, and don't buy it because it's an investment. Buy it to understand the technology. Because that's what I did in early days. Because until you don't have experience, a first-hand experience on the technology on which this entire empire which we are building, you're just missing the heart. So it's very important to go and try some of those. And if I just speak from my experience, I started with, obviously I bought some bitcoins. But after buying those bitcoin, I think I forget that I bought them. Because it was dead cheap. Like literally cheap. So my step was to obviously read those 9 pages of Bitcoin white paper. Because that brings the entire motivation that why this revolution has started. Correct? That's the root. Somewhere it's those 9-page white pages have the root of this entire revolution. So I would recommend to just go download. I still meet a lot of people in the industry who claim to be entrepreneur but never have read those white papers. And I strongly recommend to start from there, get a little piece of Bitcoin, 10 rupees, 20 rupees, 100 rupees of Bitcoin. You don't have to buy the entire one Bitcoin. And that would be the starting. And then rest, you guys are entrepreneurs. You know what to do.
One more resource I would want to add is the way he mentioned white paper. Khan Academy also happens to have one really nice series of videos to explain blockchain, Bitcoin blockchain, and white paper. I've never gone through the white paper honestly, but I've gone through those videos and I think I understand it good enough.
I think you guys have already started it, right? If the fact that you're here and learning about the topic says that you're on the path of progress for finding out more on this. But also coming from more of an entrepreneurs and startup point of view, not every business model or every business is suited for blockchain. While it impacts and it pretty much encompasses a lot of the use cases, it has wonderful solutions out there. I mean, let's take an example. If you're setting up an ice cream shop, there's no point in going into the complexity of the system to get into blockchain just because it's the hype and the trend out there. So understand blockchain and understand if the need that you're solving really requires blockchain to be at the core of what you're doing. So that's one, and I think the other would be stay adaptable, because as an entrepreneur you need to change your model pivot around probably 1 billion and one times, and just staying flexible and adaptable sometimes really goes a long way.
Yes, as she said that all businesses are not for blockchain, because as I said that blockchain is a very slow database. So you need to first understand your concept, the blockchain, that how does it work, how would it go in your business use case, how would a slow database work absolutely well, and definitely as she said that you have to be adaptable because the technology is still evolving. There are new blockchains coming up, there are new things coming up. So yes, so you need to really think that what blockchain do you use first if you're building up on a platform, or you want to buy your own blockchain. So there are a lot of things on blockchain that you need to see if ever it goes well on that.
We're just discussing the first steps over here. And I'd also like to add a Princeton University's classes. So having now the first steps have been done, and now I'd like to know the importance of geography. You are based out of San Francisco. Your talk was really informative, but what I could figure out was that there's a lot more that's happening outside, and probably you are based out of Germany. So it seems like we all who are sitting in India and New Delhi are probably missing out on something. And what's the impact size, since you guys have been there? I'd like you guys to probably show us the magnitude of differences and the impact that it can have on the geography and the networks that you are well connected with. Because that's the reality of the...
Let's talk about India, because I believe that the most of the reason why, so we have a lot of things going around in Germany, in Europe and US. But what I believe the real impact of the blockchain technology will happen in emerging countries, not in the countries which are already emerged. The reason it's like, if you see how the banking evolved in India, US have the worst banking in the world, correct? India have one of the most advanced banking infrastructure where money moves in seconds, minutes. That's how it works. In US, if you have to do a local transaction, ACH takes 3 to 4 days. So imagine they are living in a stone age compared to existing banking. So I believe the same leapfrog can happen in India, because banking have evolved. Perfect. But what about the other government services? What about different registries which government departments or private departments have? In European countries or in US countries, they are already have in one or another digital format. But India have chance to take a leapfrog from paper-based records to not on a regular IT database infrastructure, but to move on a blockchain and just skip this middle part. So I see from the geography part, India have the most, which we can take it out from the blockchain.
Yeah, I completely understand from the opportunity perspective. Yeah. There's a large market, large opportunity in the developing markets. But purely from an entrepreneur perspective, on a day-to-day basis, when I keep on building, and I understand the benefits, what are probably the cons that I will probably face if I'm an entrepreneur who's completely based out of India, never goes out? built out of here? The talent, maybe the fundraising, I don't know. You guys.
Yeah, it may possibly. So there are many ingredients of making a successful business, correct? But few are obviously, the number one is the resource, the talent pool. And that's what the Silicon Valley had. So we got enough talent pool so you can hire people quickly, you find motivated people who have a spark to build. But I think India have that too. And I was speaking last day in this Thai conference, and we had like amazing entrepreneur collective there. So I think that India have that, and the government is starting many opportunity for entrepreneurship program. So you have different state governments coming up with it. But leaving aside that, talent, I think something which India have. So there is no doubt about that we all are Indian and going into different spaces, and so I don't think that talent is outside. Talent is inside, which is going outside. So talent is something which we can figure it out. Now coming to the infrastructure point of view, and I'll say the investment. So the investment could be. That's one of the problems which actually ICO or cryptocurrency industry solved. You really don't need, you could be in a Bangladesh and you can raise millions of dollars if you have a good idea and you believe in your project. So that's the one problem which cryptocurrency actually solved. So if you have a talent, and now the second problem was solved because of the ICO boom which we've seen in past 6 months, you solved two problems. Now the third biggest problem which I faced in past 4 years of my career was the regulatory problem. How is the regulation sticking it? Because that's something which can put things into black, white or a grey zone. And I think India is perceiving it well. If we don't talk about cryptocurrencies, the first company which I have is the Oxasis Group. We are doing a great, the company is doing a great stuff here with the government here. So maybe not many people knows because it was not a public data till last month, but now it's coming in public. So Oxasis Group built something called Ox Ledger, where the state government of India have moved 53 million Indian identity on a blockchain. It's the world's largest blockchain infrastructure which exists, created by state government of India. So it's not, our government is not doing and the government is not understanding. But obviously there is a difference between cryptocurrency, you can create your own coin or not, and using a technology. I think when it comes to the technology, government is receptive. We just need a proper channel and a proper explanation to explain that. Correct? So that's something I see. So I believe that India have all three ingredients, which is required now.
I think you guys would like to add on the pros or cons of being in the geography of India.
Yeah, except for the talent, I would agree with the Kumar. One more thing I would want to add to entrepreneurs, especially, is with time I've learned the value of team. And even Richard Branson has a statement which says that with a good team you can win the world. So and which is not very acceptable in Indian entrepreneurs. They even when they have a 1 rupee business, they are fighting for stakes. You know, we refrain from getting good advisors. So you should be pro-advisory. You should get good advisors. They'll help you draft your business. They're experienced. Besides, most of them don't ask you for immediate money. We had such a lovely speaker. A lot of mentors are always available because being Indians, we have a good sense of contributing back to the society, and I see that everywhere. A lot of mentors don't charge entrepreneurs. But these entrepreneurs, most of the time, they refrain from having advisors. So as soon as you get into getting good advisors, you start forming good teams. With teams, your resource is not shedded. You know, it's not splitted. You can form good teams, good consortiums. Even this is a suggestion for even bigger companies. They don't form consortiums. They are building, like, everybody wants to have their own CTO. Everybody wants to have their own CFO. Wherein, if at all, they have good consortiums, wherein one company brings in good financial assessment, good financial consultation, one brings in good technology, and the other is busy developing one business. You know, it can be a fabulous environment altogether, where good projects can flourish, you can have good ideas surfacing, wherein most of them are killed in shells.
Now Not much. I think I would just completely agree with Kumar because one of the reasons we're here is that we're sourcing globally, and the fact that blockchain and crypto really gives you access to the entire world is something that completely plays in our advantage. In fact, if we have time, while I was back on my flight, I met this gentleman who supplies internet routers. They manufacture it from somewhere, they have a middleman who charges their own markup fee on it. Then he buys it, then he sells it through a network of 5 layers of different distributors who have their own markup fees on the product itself, out of which he has zero knowledge or any share in profit. So India is a country which I would call like beautifully chaotic in many ways, because there's so much of red tape, bureaucracy, middle management, many layers which you probably don't really benefit from in many ways as a society. And that's something that blockchain as a concept, as a philosophy, and as a technology can solve to a long way. Like if this guy was in blockchain today, he probably could skip the middle layers and just go into the market with his product directly, and everything would be transparent and probably more efficient this way. So I think in terms of impact, I completely concur that as a country we have a lot of potential, probably one of the maximum one of the highest potentials of being benefited as a nation from this technology. And we always have great talent here, so there is no defying that.
I would like to add something. Yes. Since Kumar had already touched the topic of regulation, is there anything you guys would like to add around the regulatory aspects and how differences there are globally? Does it really matter? Should I get, once again, should I get my company registered somewhere else?
Me and Kumar, we have already shared stage on the same topic earlier, and that has actually made me a bit hopeless about that, because that day we had a lot of ministers and a lot of people sitting in the panel.
We need that all the information,
Yeah, but nothing great happened. In fact, we came out to know that Bitcoin was a Ponzi, which was not even a good evaluation of the stuff. So I think rather than discussing what should be the proper regulation, we should enforce the foundations that have been formed, like DAPFI. I recently heard of one more name in this event itself. So I guess the founder is here itself. So we should be you are the founder? Oh, great. So we should be putting up some force, joining hand with these people who have already taken the torch in their hand, and they can take the fight ahead, I guess. And that's the only way. Instead of talking it out here, we already have like good 25 rule set framed by DAPFI, which can be pushed forward, which is straight. We have good illustrations also. If in case we have somebody who's deaf and dumb, we have good enough regulation, like artwork that these guys can peep into, these regulatory guys, and at least frame the first set of 5 laws. So the only thing I think is we should enforce, join hands with them and take our torch also in our hands.
So yes, talking about the regulations, I would like to add on Kumar's point. Government is receptive to blockchain, but government is not receptive to tokenization. The aim of Blockchain Foundation is basically to talk about blockchain. First, our aim is to connect all the startups, all the people all together and take a consensus on how do we approach it to the government. Because as far as I know, DAPFI went into the regulations for Bitcoin, and of course what you heard in that ministers meeting, you got that. We are focusing on blockchain, and of course your last question said about the talent pool. Yes, that is the problem that we are facing here. So my co-founder is from Australia, my advisors are from Australia, and we are having a hard time finding smart contract developers or blockchain developers in India. Though it is still an evolving technology, but still we are finding hard time. Moreover, with India education.